Lily Curl, what I have not mentioned is that you got a double first in History of Art at Cambridge, and I'm wondering what gives you an insight into literacy?
I don't see my insight as related to Cambridge. And I actually think there's an important distinction there, which you mentioned, which is not that I don't see literacy as important because I think that everyone should go to university or be very academic or even do jobs that require you to read and write. The assumption often when you hear literacy is thinking about those ideas and maybe reading a novel or writing. But when you actually look at it, literacy is fundamental for very, very simple things in life, like being able to read a medicine packet, being able to understand what food to give your child, being able to understand the stigmas and the myths around things like female genital mutilation, or even be able to read a train sign so you know what train's coming.
But you call on MPs to do something about it. What is the basic step to take to try and combat this?
Unfortunately, I don't have a silver bullet. I wish I did. Project Literacy are doing a big call to action right now, asking people to sign an online petition because their first step in this process is trying to raise awareness. They've created a really beautiful video, which you mentioned about the alphabet of illiteracy, trying to make people understand that with illiteracy, it's not about not being able to read and write. It's what the consequences of that, that is. And that means...
But if we look at the domestic issue first,
Sure.
I mean, it's vastly more resource for kids who are having a problem learning.
Yeah, so in England, as you just mentioned, 1 in 5 children have poor literacy when they leave school. There's arguably a big cost to the government from that because it impacts homelessness rates, it impacts jail rates, impacts violent crime. There's data that collates between illiteracy and all of those issues in the UK. So my argument would be instead of investing in the symptoms and the problems that illiteracy can cause, why don't we invest more into dealing with illiteracy and looking at our education system? How are kids falling through the gaps? Why is that happening? Are there welfare issues? And I don't think it's simple.
It's an extraordinary thing to think, because in your figures, in your alphabet, 48% or 46% of prisoners cannot read or write. You'd have thought one might try to teach them.
Yeah. Or teach them in the beginning so they don't end up in, it's less likely they'll end up in prison. Half the people in England that are homeless are illiterate. So there's very obvious relationships between being illiterate and then the kind of future that that's going to create for you. How we actually deal with it, I wish I had the answers, I don't know. I think we need to look at our education systems. I think we probably need to look at our social security and our welfare systems. There's often a relationship between poverty and illiteracy in the country. But take a concerted effort, because we're a country in the developing world with the lowest literacy rate right now.
Well, good luck with your campaign. Awareness raising comes first. Thank you very much indeed for helping us there.